Episode 3 is about trust, building relationships, growing their own community and family. Last episode left us hanging with a stranger finding Emma and Ish's address painted on the wall. Because humans are unpredictable, that left us with a lot of possibilities. However, instead, we jumped to year 6. The episode begins with Ish driving after picking apples, and he hits a lion, which forces him to stop, and that's when he sees a girl in the woods. He runs after her because he wants to make sure she's okay and if she needs help. The woods are dangerous, as we've just seen when he hit that animal. There's plenty of other animals out there. But the whole thing is a little awkward because she's so scared of this man chasing her, and she should be. She doesn't know him. And especially the way we do. We know he's a good guy, but she doesn't know that. So it adds tension to the scene. Also, I couldn't help but wonder, is there someone else out there? Is this a ruse? Or does she really need help, and how will he get her to trust him? He told her that he had 2 children, which we didn't know. The last time we saw him, he only had 1 child. They had baby Heather, but we do have a jump, so now we know he has another child. He also gave this young girl an apple, and he gave her time to decide. He waited in his truck, and he let her decide whether or not she wanted to stay or go. And ultimately, she took a chance and hopped in the back of his truck. When he arrives home, we see little Heather has grown a bit, and we are introduced to his son Alex. And Emma is pregnant. And at this point, the girl hasn't left the truck, and she hasn't spoken. She's scared, which is totally understandable.
Stay there as long as you need.
Emma and Ish discuss this with their friend Jorge and his wife Maureen. I consider them married, just like I consider Ish and Emma married. This couple were the ones that saw Emma's message at the end of the previous episode. Now, all night, the girl stayed in the truck, but she wasn't alone. Lucky was with her. Such a sweet dog. And the following morning, Maureen had made a connection with the girl. And through this moment, we learn about both characters. Maureen could spot the signs of abuse because she experienced it herself as a child. And in that short period of time, she earned the girl's trust and got her to come inside the house. Maureen looked through her diary of sorts, and she saw these dark drawings in it. And simultaneously, while that was going on, Ish and Jorge went out to see if the girl had any family. And when they were out there, they found a dilapidated cabin. And it was apparent that this young girl was living in a really bad way here. And later on that night, we learned about the girl's history. Maureen had found a letter in the girl's backpack from her mother. She read it to Emma. We learned that the girl's name is Evie, and that her father took his rage out on the young girl. And she has not spoken since. The letter goes on to say,
I am dying. So if you find her alive, please don't tell her no. Be her yes. Yes. Yes.
This is a very powerful moment between the 2 women who decide to adopt her into their family. And then there's a slight time jump where Emma gives birth to Joey. And with experience and Maureen's help, this went much smoother than it did when Heather was born.
Say I love you. Because I actually know what that means now.
Then we have another jump. It's a year later, and it's Joey's birthday. And everything is happy when the perimeter bell rings. And Ish sees someone running. They quickly take arms and defend themselves. And they end up in a standoff with these 3 newcomers. And then they see a 4th. A child had run off. And that's what started the whole thing. That's what they said. There's a child that was with them around the same age as Heather, and he had run off. That's what rang the perimeter bell, and that's who Ish had seen in the woods. Anyway, cooler heads prevailed, and they stopped pointing guns, and everything was okay. Though Ish is still not the trusting kind.
We don't want anything.
Everyone wants something.
They were invited into the house, and we see that Heather and the newcomer's son, Rafe, they get along very well right from the start. I mean, it's not often that young kids see other young kids nowadays. Maureen asked if they were there because of Evie, but they didn't know her. And I too wondered if Evie's father would come into play at any point, but he never did. He never came around. I feel like it was a missed opportunity for some tension, but this episode really wasn't about our heroes meeting bad guys. It was really about them adapting to this new way of life And for our hero Ish, it's for him to learn how to trust people and accept new people into his life, which is very, very difficult for him because he started out as a loner, and now that he has a family, he doesn't want to just let anyone into his group. Now, during this time, Maureen, she recognized one of the newcomers, Jean, as a singer from before the world fell time. But here's the question, why did they show up? How did they end up there? And the answer is?
We only stopped here because we saw the sign.
I was a resident surgeon at UW Medicine in Seattle.
And then
The sign. 7 years and the sign's still there.
Ish doesn't look too happy to hear that. But then why hasn't he painted over the sign? Emma suggests that they stay in the neighboring house, and they do. Ish isn't really gelling with these people. He doesn't trust them, but they go on a supply run. And there are rules to the supply run. He wants everyone to pair off. And there's a moment where one of them goes against his rules to get supplies from a hospital. There's a tense moment there where she comes face to face with a wild dog, and she uses a fire hydrant to scare it off. But her search pays off. She comes back with medical supplies. I thought actually that she was going to turn out to be a druggie or something. That didn't happen at all. She ended up being on the up and up. One of the highlights was when Ezra found a guitar because he gave it to Jean and she put it to good use. She can sing, and she sang, and that was very, very enjoyable. And it was a great moment for them to bond, especially Ish bonding with Ezra and the rest of them. Then we learned that Jean is pregnant, and she was distraught about the pregnancy, and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to understand where she was coming from, but we had another time jump where she becomes very pregnant, and then she has the baby, and then Maureen and Jorge, they have a baby. Then we jump to year 14. And there's a lot of great family moments throughout this episode. And here in this year 14, we see Ish taking his son to the library. Like his father, the library is his favorite place. Alex loves the library, and I really like that. That's great father-son bonding. But then bad weather comes. We have heavy rains, and this is the part I don't like, okay? This is the part that upset me. Lucky died in the storm. Somehow he got out again. I don't know how he keeps getting out. He got out with the rats, and now he got out with the storm. And it looked like a pole or a heavy branch came down and killed him. And I say to myself, why do that? Why not just let him die of old age? He was already old. It was clear with all the time jumps that he was not going to make it to the end. And he was just too old. So I say, just let him die of old age. You know, I love Lucky, and seeing him die like that, it was just heartbreaking, like, wow. And then shortly after that, we had a major cliffhanger. Out of nowhere, a lion comes out and is about to attack Evie and little Joey. And Ish comes over with the hammer Jorge had given him, and he goes after the animal, drawing it away from the kids. He gets mauled in the process, and she screams for help. And I believe this is the first time she's spoken. I really didn't expect that ending. It was a shock, especially since the episode didn't have much action. It was mostly about like the emotional tense moments of, do I trust this person? Do I let them into my family? That type of thing. In real life, you're not always dealing with physical action, but you do have a fear moment of what's out there, what's around me. And most of the times you come out unscathed. And that's what we've been seeing the whole episode until now. All in all, I liked it, though not as much as the last episode, but I did enjoy this one. Now, I didn't expect so much jumping in years. It was hard to get to know the new people because of it. One thing about time jumping is that it makes the episode feel like it's setting up something, as if we're moving forward to get to a certain destination in the storyline. Maybe they want to get him to the point where he's like a really old man, I don't know. But when the episode started, I will say I was disappointed when we didn't see the immediate outcome of Jorge showing up. But Jorge happened to be a good guy, so there wouldn't be much of a story to tell there. What I like is that it's going in a different direction than The Walking Dead, for example. And I like The Walking Dead, but it's nice to see something a little different. Everyone you meet doesn't have to try and kill you, but at the same time, human threats are a lot more fun to watch, but I'm okay with this. I can see where some people would want more action, but it's refreshing to have a story about people surviving and starting society up again. My favorite trope in apocalyptic shows, the adopted family trope. I love it when people don't know each other, they don't get along, and then they become family. And in this episode, we got plenty of that. I will say that I felt a little bad for Ish, not just the ending. The ending was definitely something to just be really shocked about. I want him to survive. But one thing is that I feel like he's kind of always on the wrong side of things. He's very cautious. And I think that's a good thing, especially when you have a family. But it's always seemed to be like he always turns out to be wrong. Everyone he meets is a good person. When Molly went to get supplies, she ended up being right. And she even told him, I might be wrong, but I'm still right about getting the supplies. And she got everything that she needed. Except the only thing that he really was correct about, mostly, was about the animals. That it's not safe, that everyone needs to be careful. You can't go out there on your own. You have to always be cognizant, because at the end it got him. And that's the irony of it, really, is that the one cautious thing that he kept talking about was the one thing that came to bite him, literally. But anyway, what did you think about the episode? Did you like the time jumps? At this rate, do you think we will see Emma as a grandmother? How will things turn out for Ish? Do you think he'll survive? Do you think he'll have health issues as a result? Do you think maybe they're going to go the way of seeing how one survives in this world with injuries? What would you like to see happen next for our group? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.